a number of us are going to hold down court this week and offer you some practice and some thoughts. So today I am going to say a couple of words. So feel free to either keep it on gallery view or put it on speaker view and you'll get me. And then we'll spend time practicing together. So I was on a retreat this summer, and one evening in the middle of the retreat, the teacher offered this ancient, really short teaching written by Saraha in the 5th century. And this is how it went. This heart mind, so tied up in knots, if relaxed, will free itself. Have no doubt. This heart mind, so tied up in knots, if relaxed, will free itself. Have no doubt. It is so simple. It's short, and yet it seems to me that it says everything, as well as having nothing extra. It's concise. And for me, the timing was just right. When I heard it, it really landed for me. And I've been repeating it, kind of rolling it over in my mind ever since. There were a lot of other moments in the retreat. It was rich, but this phrase is the one that stayed with me. So I wanted to share some thoughts that I've had about it. It offers a lot, including, I think, a very important connection to Metta, which is our topic for the month, especially Metta towards ourselves. So I'll come back to that, but first I want to consider the phrase piece by piece. It starts with this heart mind, which is called chitta in Pali. And just that, the words recognize the connectedness of heart and mind. They're not separate as we tend to speak of them in our culture. What happens in one affects the other. The mind's thinking constricts the heart. And a heart that's been hurt and learned to protect itself can close the mind as well. And then the next phrase, so tied up in knots. Such a good visual. A knot that's tangled and tight and hard to undo, right? The point of a knot is to hold on securely. And we know what that feels like. When we hold on tightly in our mind, the mind going around in circles, it's hard to get out of. It's that I never can say this, proliferation of thought, which is called papancha. And it does tie our mind in a knot. And our heart too. It can be constricted and tight like a knot so that it is as if our feelings are inaccessible. This heart mind so tied in knots when relaxed. So just imagine the knots in your heart mind loosening. There's a softening or a sense of ease. You know, what does it feel like for you? Sometimes imagery helps for me. So maybe it helps to think of a hot summer day, sitting in an easy chair, looking at the view, listening to the birds. Maybe that can evoke the feeling of relaxed. And maybe you can feel that your heart mind has momentarily stepped away from the doing, from the efforting, and your body responds by softening, dropping the shoulders, and is at ease. So just touch into the felt sense of what it is to be relaxed. And we'll come back to this because I think it's really helpful to explore more deeply relaxation in our practice and how it is a way to touch into metta. This heart mind, so tied in knots, when relaxed, will free itself. The heart mind knows how to be free. If we can let go a bit and get out of the way, sometimes just that hits me. Our being knows. If we settle back, receive, and try just a little bit less hard, we can find glimmers of peace. And that peace isn't going to arise from overthinking. And finally, the powerful postscript. This heart mind, so tied in knots, when relaxed, will free itself. Have no doubt. So clear, so full of trust. It cuts right through those thoughts about, am I doing this right? Does this meditation process really work? These questions themselves keep us tied up in knots. I don't really totally ascribe to the Nike motto, but the directness is similar. Just do it. Don't doubt yourself or the process. Just keep on doing it. I remember when my husband quit his job to return to grad school when he was in his mid-40s. And it was a big decision. I've spoken about it here before. He wanted to do it, but was uncertain it was the right move because he didn't know where he would land and if he'd be able to create a new career for himself. And when he was in the midst of making this decision, I found a paperweight that said, "What would you do if you knew you could not fail?" This is kind of the same sentiment as have no doubt. So that's the whole teaching, that one phrase. And you can see how I've been turning it over in my head. There are so many facets to it. It's so rich. And I think it dovetails so well with our reflection on metta, the inspiration it offers to practice to alleviate our own knots. I hope that you can see that in itself, that is an offering of metta to ourselves. We care enough to try to untie the knots that cause us pain. And the focal point of the whole teaching really rests on this notion of relaxing. This heart mind, so tied in knots, when relaxed, will free itself. Setting the intention to relax is infused with metta. That intention to let go of the control and the drive. It's a real expression of caring for ourselves. We're relaxing as a kindness to ourselves because we care. I know some people struggle with offering metta to themselves. It can feel difficult to open to ourselves in a caring way. And for me, the traditional repetition of metta phrases, may I be peaceful and safe and free from suffering, they don't always and easily touch my knotted heart. So maybe offering ourselves ways to relax is another way to just begin to play with how we can touch into metta for ourselves. So for me, the real question is how to relax. How often do we hear someone say, just relax? It'll be okay, just relax. I know there's good intention in that, but in my experience, it's not that easy. if I could relax, I would relax. It's not something that can be done on command. Sometimes our knots have been in place for so long that it's what's familiar to us. And we don't really know what it would feel like to be without them. And actually, it feels vulnerable, maybe. And that there's this feeling of groundlessness in the letting go. And so that holds us back sometimes. Sometimes we don't feel safe enough to relax. And that isn't a conscious decision, but it's one that's much deeper. Our hearts have learned to protect themselves, and for good reason. And it takes time and care and effort to slowly let go. So relaxing is a process, and it can be over a long period of time. When I first started meditating, I was so not relaxed. And as I practiced and began to see all of my habits of mind, I actually became less relaxed. It kind of tensed me up in a way. And I remember so well sitting in retreats, and I would sometimes develop headaches from trying so hard to stay with my breath and to follow the instructions. And I'd have to like totally step back, maybe just go take a walk in order to return to some sort of calm. And it has been a very slow process over decades of learning to make the practice my own, to find more ease and acceptance, and to relax with myself. So sometimes relaxing is a letting go. A thought arises, and instead of following it, we let it go. We put it down, right? We begin to understand that following the thoughts is one of the ways that we tie ourselves in knots. So we try not to. And we practice this over and over again. And we find that it can bring some peace, but not always. I don't know if you've had the experience, but sometimes the thoughts are so strongly there. And it's hard to let go of them. They keep coming back. Sometimes relaxing is a letting be. It's not a letting go, but it's an allowing. That allowing comes from a sense of spaciousness inside. If there's enough space, we might find that our experiences, whether they're thoughts or feelings, they arise within this space, and we can notice them without engaging with them. And it's actually an interesting process and a practice, and it helps us relax because we're not chasing after the content. We can find a rest and a place in the midst of it that feels a bit like relaxing. So finding a way to relax is in itself a practice, and we have to play with it. We don't want to fool ourselves into thinking that relaxing means not exerting any effort. It definitely requires effort. You know, culturally, we're so wound up that when we give ourselves permission to relax, we often let go into sleep. And maybe there are times when it's because we actually really need sleep, but it's not so helpful to our practice. And at other times, if we don't fall asleep, we kind of space out into this daydreamy, fuzzy attention, which isn't really very helpful either. So this really is a place to be discerning. How much effort's really needed to stay alert? And how much relaxation is needed to settle back, to stop controlling and find some ease? where is that sweet spot? It's going to change day to day, and it's going to change throughout the day. So we keep asking ourselves, just like kind of Goldilocks, where is the spot that feels just right? And we don't doubt that just this will make a difference. We'll find the sweet spot for a moment or a couple of moments. We lean into resolve, right, which we spoke of last month, to keep this practice going in this way. And we just keep on, keep on keeping on. So this short phrase, this heart mind, so tied in knots, when relaxed, will free itself. Have no doubt. I can really feel the heart qualities within it. There's so much compassion and care expressed for the suffering caused by being tied in knots. And there's metta offered to ourselves in the intentions to learn to relax the mind. And although it's unspoken, it feels to me that there's the possibility of metta flowing outward into the world much more easily from a mind heart that's more free and more at peace. So thank you all for your kind attention. And now let's spend some time really putting the words into action and practicing and trying to bring this sense of relaxation into our moment by moment experience. And we can begin even in the stretching out of our body. And just recognizing that even this is an offering that invites the body to find a way to be more relaxed. So take all the time you need. And as it feels right to you, bring yourself into a posture of relative stillness. Letting your body settle into this space. Feeling the weight of your buttocks on your chair. And let the relaxing begin by just feeling that sense of heaviness, of rootedness as you sit in this place. I think relaxation of the heart mind actually begins with relaxation of the body. So as we perhaps take a few deeper than normal breaths, notice on the exhale, in that letting go of the breath, that we let the body go a bit as well. And we notice what that feels like. And we can invite the mind to let go a bit as well, perhaps by letting it rest just lightly on body sensations or breath or ambient sounds. And just noticing, maybe even enjoying this process of softening, resting, settling, finding ease, whatever words speak to you. Noticing those moments where perhaps you're trying to direct yourself, you're trying to push away maybe experience or thoughts or hold on to them. And that felt sense of tightening and control, perhaps feeling a little bit like a knot, and inviting yourself to let go and settle back and relax a bit, letting your attention be light and spacious. Noticing those moments when you find the sweet spot, when you are feeling alert and attentive and also relaxed, settled back. And also noticing when you slip out of those places. They will come and go. But it's good to be aware of what it feels like in those moments where it feels like the sweet spot. Get to know it.